Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And the kids are feeling good, man. Feeling really good after another solid night in the NBA on Tuesday, where we had a much smaller slate than we do on Wednesday, where we have 14 games before we close for a quick break on Thursday for Thanksgiving. Obviously, happy Thanksgiving early to everybody there. And then we will not be back with NBA on Friday, but we will have NFL player props up for the weekend games there on the Coast to Coast. So make sure you check that out as well. Continue to follow along, like and subscribe. We've got best bets here for you. Also have our player props up for you on the slate. We're going to also want you to head rather to thelines.com. Use that odds finder tool we have up there. Make sure you're getting the best juice on all these bets available to you. Nate, let's go ahead and run right into your best bet where we were 4-0 on the night last night.
Yeah, good night for the bets for sure. And on Monday, taking the Celtics under on the road. I'm still going under for this game here. Milwaukee visiting Boston. And kind of last minute pivot here because the word is Jason Tatum is questionable with a non-COVID illness and might not be able to go. In which case, I mean, the totals move 2 points. The Celtics have shifted from -6 to maybe -4, some places 4.5. So, I mean, one of my bets here is the under. I'll explain why in a second. But I still think the Celtics win this game, even if Tatum is not 100%, or even if he doesn't play, because I think the greatest advantage they have right now is Drew Holiday on Dame, is Porzingis guarding the rim and forcing Giannis to try to beat them from not right at the basket, and the extra motivation that comes with Drew going up against his former team. He will be absolutely playing his lights out, and Derek White to throw at Dame as well. I just don't think the Bucks have the firepower to match the Celtics, who have been incredible at home. That is all to say, like I'm still throwing them into money line parlay with the Clippers, who obviously just trucked the Spurs on Monday and can do it again, and the Pacers, even though they're on a back-to-back here. They are facing the Raptors at home. I don't think the Raptors can keep pace with the Pacers, who were just so fun to watch last night, getting 157, coming back from 20 down. I mean, how do you expect this team to lose against a team that's 29th in offensive efficiency on the road? That's 8-21 as road dogs since last season. The Raptors are not expected to win these games. And I mean, Halliburton, like I said yesterday, is just a point guard extraordinaire right now, the most efficient player in the league. And, you know, they've won 3 straight, including one without Halliburton against these Raptors. You know, and the absence of Fred VanVleet was pretty glaring when Halliburton was able to dime up like 15 dimes per game. Now he's facing Schroeder, who has a worse defensive rating. So I think the Pacers, yeah, their depth, their firepower, too much. Same thing with the Clippers, really. I mean, even if the Spurs get Devin Vassell back, that Clippers offense is on track. I mean, they beat the Spurs by 25. They beat them by 30 earlier this season. 40, excuse me. So that's not a lot of suspense there. But yeah, let's look at the marquee game here. And I'm expecting the Bucks to slow down here after, you know, I think their recent results are pretty inflated. It's like, wow, they figured some things out. Did they? Or did they face Chicago on a back-to-back, Toronto without OG Anunoby, and then Charlotte, Dallas, and Washington, teams that will routinely give up 140. And now they're facing a Celtics team that plays much slower, especially at home, 95.5 pace. Also, just great defensive metrics. Opponents are averaging 103 at home against them. Fewest points in the paint, second fewest second chance, third fewest fast break points, third fewest free throws, eighth lowest 3-point percentage. So, I mean, like you would expect, that starting 5 on paper is the best defensive unit in the league by pretty good margin, I think. And now they're going to be geared up to try to slow down this Bucks team, which has lost 4 straight at Boston in the regular season, averaging slightly under 110, games played at 95 pace. You know, I lean under on their team total more than the Celtics because I think, again, even if Tatum's out, Celtics can rain threes at home. Their pace and space is incredible. And the Bucks, yeah, I mean, you look when they actually faced like a solid defense last time on the road, 97 points at Orlando. They've, quote, got right since then. I don't know if I buy it. Dame has been really hot and cold with this team. They still don't have that good chemistry together, him and Giannis. And I don't think Chris Middleton is back. I don't think they have the third and fourth options to match what the Celtics can put out there if they have their whole five.
For sure. I'll focus on that game with you for a minute. The Pacers scare me a little bit. I don't know what to do with a team coming off of a 157, 152 outing. I don't know what to how do you cap that. But as far as the other ones, what a wild game. Quick aside, like 309 points in that Pacers and Hawks game. What a time, man. Hopefully you caught some of that. It was a track meet. Your in-season tournament might be working, Adam Silver. I don't know. We'll find out. But the Bucks and the C's, it's definitely gets like turned upside down a little bit if Tatum doesn't play for me and how I look at it. Mm-hmm. However, all of that because my thing, just real quick on that, just a quick aside, is like I do think that they can rely on him so much on offense right now that, and he and Kristaps are so good in the 2-man game right now that everything kind of just like is easier as a result of it, and just it's a little bit harder without it. So points probably will be harder to come by, and that'd be my preferred angle without him. So it's a nice pivot by you in that sense. As far as everything else that you said for them winning this game, like I believe in the Bucks a little bit more on offense than you might be giving them credit for right now. I think there's some things figured out. It's tough to fully say that when they've played really bad defenses over their last 5, obviously, with all of them really bad, honestly, the Mavs in there as well. So I'm not gonna like go full in and just say, yeah, this is the offense. They've got it. They figured it out. But Dame and Giannis on the pick and roll has gotten a little bit better as well. Their 2-man lineup numbers are a bit up. Either way, like this Celtics team at home especially is a freaking wagon, and it's terrifying. I was gushing about Derek White earlier today on a different show, and just like there's lots to like about the way that they can throw stuff at you. I like Drew to really go off on defense tonight and sort of prove his mettle that way, but. I'm with you. I have a bet on that in the. I'll just move on to a bet that I am taking in that one actually to kick it off for my first one and talk about Dame Lillard for 1 sec. This is a bit of a risky play. This is not my favorite play. It's a half a unit. I'm gonna kick myself if he goes for like 30 and I don't have a little taste in it, because the 24.5 for a guy that's half the usage of this team along with Giannis, essentially, like it's the equivalent of KD and Booker almost on the Suns. Like they actually have a slightly higher combined usage above like 65%, but these two are still above 60% themselves, or almost at it, right? Like 58% combined. And Giannis's usage keeps going up. But as you mentioned, this is a game that Giannis is probably going to struggle more than he normally would. He's putting up 20 points in the paint every game, which is wild. But now he's going up against a very good paint defense, like the third best paint defense in the league, and probably give him more credit than that for how good they are when Al and Kristaps are out there together. Like very, very predictable that those two would be awesome down low together. And Kristaps was an incredible addition, partly for that reason. As Ant Edwards once called him, the best shot blocker at the rim in the league, Kristaps Porzingis. But anyway, that's just going to kick things out a bunch more. I think that's going to funnel things out, and Dame's going to definitely have the ball in his hands and be available for catch and shoot plays as well. I think that the perimeter shooting for Milwaukee is going to dictate a lot of what happens in this game. And that's why I always hate picking winners in this series when they play, unless you find a really ripe spot, because there's just a lot of 3-point variance that's going to fly. Also, the way that the Celtics are guarding the 3-point line, it's not even really necessarily their fault that they're in the bottom 10 in allowing 3-pointers made, because they're also giving up, allowing like the 5th most threes attempted, because of the fact that they funnel everything out. It's like the Jacksonville Jaguars defense or the Tennessee Titans defense. You can't go down the middle and get to the rim that way. You've really got to kick things out once they collapse on you, which they do so incredibly well. I don't know that they'll even really miss Grant Williams in this one, to be honest. And he wouldn't have been much for the Dame stopper. So they are allowing the 7th most points per game to point guards. They're not really letting them dime up, because it's not like you can just sort of penetrate this defense one-on-one in too many different matchups. There's really no weak points anywhere on defense around the wing and, as I said, down low. But that's where you're going to force shots up if you're another team, is with if you have a scoring point guard. Like the guys who have scored on this team and actually gotten over 25 this year are pretty much the same style of players. Dame, like a LaMelo Ball, Ant Edwards, Tyler Hero, wing player that can also shoot and dime up if they want, but they're forced to look for their own shot in these matchups. So that's where I'm going with him. He is shooting in his last 5, 38% from the field, but 37% from 3, and he's taken 9 of them. So above 3 threes made per game at the 9 for him. And if he's going to get to the line, which Don't know that he will. He does get to the line a lot right now, 9.2 free throw attempts per game in his last 6. But like Boston does limit free throws to the tune of the second best, the lowest free throw attempt rate for their opponents, second lowest. So like it's going to be a good matchup. I still think Dame, like I said, a half a unit on that one. It's not my favorite bet of the night. It is a bet I'm playing with a small play, and I just wanted to sort of butt it up against what you were saying with that game.
Yeah, I mean it is a low number for Damian Lillard, and given the usage, given the lack of options for the Bucks besides those two guys. On paper, it's a much worse matchup for him than it is for Giannis because I do think the Celtics will miss Grant Williams, who would be the primary defender on Giannis. And if Tatum's sick,
Fair.
it's a lot of Jaylen Brown on Giannis, has not been as successful guarding him. Giannis is really rolling right now, and is going to be going at the rim. I don't know if I would rather maybe have his points, but I mean that's a lot of variance because will he shoot 40% at the free throw line on the road? You never know. But that's why I like an under because I think one way or another one of these offenses might struggle if Tatum's not hot. But I'll take an under in the Celtics. So we got a lot of games to choose from. Let's look at another one here. And speaking of monstrous combined usage, I will take Zion and Ingram in the same game parlay here. The Pellies hosting the Kings. So take both of them to get 20 or 25. You can interchange it either way you want. Honestly, both of them are probably a pretty good bet for 25 if the Pelicans are going to get their team total 117.5. And that would get you plus 200. Nice odds here. They don't even need to win. I think the Kings might bounce back here after getting absolutely demolished on Monday by this Pelicans team. But I think if the Kings bounce back, we're going to have a nice, fast-paced, high-scoring game where those guys are going to get their numbers. They're going to get way more minutes because last time out, BI 31 points in just 26 minutes. Zion 26 points in his 30 minutes and looking spry for sure. I mean, not like the Kings had any options to deal with him. He can get 20 in his sleep against this tissue soft interior right now. And BI is just playing good ball. He's obviously got a heightened usage rate with CJ McCollum out and has kind of been the point forward, right? I mean, Dyson Daniels is playing well, more off ball, more of a great defender who, I don't necessarily trust De'Aaron Fox to score a ton in going the other way. But between Daniels and then they got some snipers, Jordan Hawkins, Matt Ryan, both shooting extremely efficiently from deep during this hot stretch for the Pelicans where they're getting 124 a game with a 122 offensive rating and playing kind of fast. And of course the Kings play faster when they get Fox in there. You look at their last 4 road games with him, 102 pace versus 93 pace the previous 3 without him on the road. Those games with Fox averaging 237. So I think that the Pels are able to get to that average for sure, the way they've been scoring right now.
Feels right. If you're taking points against the Kings as well, like that defense is pretty nasty looking, right? As you said, the big win for them just the other game. So that was it was surprising. It was too many points to not be surprised by the way it went last time. I think they're still a good bet to win. I'm glad you went for the points for the Pellies angle more than anything in this one. I think the team total is a great play as well, and you got a pretty safe parlay there. It's a lot of points for Ingram, but yeah, like you said, he's going to be playing from a spot that he should be able to take advantage of this team down on sort of the extended wing and block. But I'm going to finish up with a bet that I really like. Like I don't think the Suns should only be favored by 2. So that really is my favorite bet is Suns -2. I'll also throw in there a little same game parlay if you want to take Booker 25 plus and the money line. Booker's core line is 28.5 points. I like the 4 fewer there as well. He's gotten 30 plus at least in his 3 of his last 4 against the Warriors, and got 27 in the other one, in the one under at this number, but still very close, obviously. So for just starting with Book real quick, like killing this team. I think Clay probably unlocked something in that one game. It was the first game of the season last year, I want to say. Yeah, and it was continuing over from the season before, but it was definitely last season. And Clay started talking at a time where it was like, "Nah, Clay, this ain't your battle anymore. Like you're a fading bull, and you're starting to talk trash of the young buck as he's coming on the ascent." Not a great play, and Devin Booker has won every bit of that matchup. And Klay Thompson is not the same defender that he used to be. He's actually better probably against a guy like Booker because he can't really guard those quick little guys anymore. But Book still got too much for him. He already had the step on him. And now Clay's lost another at least maybe 2 steps this season in terms of defense. That's going to have to probably be the primary matchup, unless you get Gary Payton Jr. out there, who's also battling injuries and might be on the injury report moving forward today. So keep an eye on that. Like Wiggs is probably looking at guarding KD because you've got no Draymond, who actually, you'd have a lot of Kevon Looney in there for Nurk. It's not good with the rotations with the Warriors. That's a big part of why I'm just like, yeah, Booker can get his. I think he and KD keep looking for their shots. Like I said, his usage rate, 33% on the season for Booker, and he's played 6 games. But that's just what you come to expect with him. It's not like that's going to go down, especially when Bradley Beal isn't playing once again. So Book should be a good bet for the points there with the high usage. Golden State is very vulnerable to point guards, which Booker is completely at this point, is the point guard on this team, bringing the ball up, playing at the top of the key and extended wing wherever he really wants. So without Draymond, we know what that means. 117.5 defensive rating for this team, which is up 6 or so from their 111.5 that they have on the season when he's in there. Their offensive rating also drops a tick, 1 point per 100 without Day. And yeah, I mean, that's also just because Clay and Wiggins are just annihilating this offense, nuking it with their awful shooting. 34% from deep and 40% from the field for Klay Thompson, putting up some. It feels worse when some of these shots don't even touch rim. And then Wiggs, 25% from 3. It's a huge number. Like if when he reaches like 30 to 35% from 3, they're a different team entirely because of his high usage. Third banana on offense for this team, especially with Draymond out. The shooting woes for the Dubs are it, man. Like really hot shooting, really good defense equals 4 Dubs championships in like the 8 years or whatever. And you can't be 21st in true shooting percentage on the year with the way that this team is constructed and beat teams, period. It's just Chris Paul is there to help guys get open shots. They're getting some, but Clay can't really make those shots with a hand in his face anymore. He's really bad on contested threes. In their last 5, they're at a 25% true shooting percentage. Missed two of those games without Steph, so it's a little conflated, but it's still bad, man. So I don't really need to tell you about anything else with the Suns. They do look a little bit better on offense, at least against bad defensive teams, and I don't trust the Dubs on the road at all, man.
Suns look way better. Suns are like starting to be who we thought they were. And they don't have Beal yet, but I mean, they're at least who they were down the stretch last season, where they have 2 of the best offensive players of the era right now. So everything I said, yeah, you've convinced me actually to put the Suns money line in that parlay, maybe instead of the Pacers, maybe instead of the Celtics, given the uncertainty with Tatum. But yeah, I think Suns at home here, Suns over 116.5, maybe the same exact parlay I'm talking about with Zion Ingram over that total with Book and KD getting 25. Like the Warriors are not getting stops right now. Yeah, they've played nothing but shootouts. Suns are on a back-to-back, but they coasted over those sad Blazers last night. I mean, Book didn't do any heavy lifting because he's probably peering over the schedule at this game and saying, you know what, I got to give Klay Thompson the business again. Let me ease up here. And yeah, that Suns offense is looking really good with Book at the point.
Totally. I love the idea of Book being in the game, being like, oh, hold up, I got to cook Clay tomorrow. Let me sit out for a little bit longer so I can rest up for that. I totally think that's how his mind works, honestly, dude. But that's all the time we have for you in the best bets. Continue to follow along. Also got those play-up props up for you guys. Like we said, coming off another 6-2 night. By the way, that's like 17-6 in the last 3 nights, Nate. Just going to throw that out there for everybody as well. So we'll stay hot with the kids. And until we see you next, happy betting.